everyone. Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel, and my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of Your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Okay, so we're talking about some movies today. Get to that in just a moment. But before we do, we have a Patreon, which if you're a regular listener, you know. And over on the Patreon, we are a month late, but we did a Black History Month poll. And the winner was Inside Man, starring Denzel Washington, directed by Spike Lee. And we were very much in agreement for most of our conversation, but it was fun nonetheless.
Yes.
It is a very Spike Lee movie in good ways and in not so good ways. And if you're a patron, please go check that out. And if you're not a patron, please consider joining. Okay, so this week we have The Electric State, which is the new Russo brothers movie. And we also have Novocaine, which is, I don't remember who directed it, although I have my notes in front of me. Whoops. And that's starring Jack Quaid. And it's not about Novocaine, but, you know, all is revealed. So we're going to start, though, first with The Electric State. This is a big budget Russo brothers, as in the Marvel guys, Russo brothers movie. It stars Chris Pratt. Actually, I would say it stars Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt and Woody Harrelson. She is definitely the lead. And here's your one-sentence IMDb summary. An orphan teen hits the road with a mysterious robot to find her long-lost brother, teaming up with a smuggler and his wisecracking sidekick, who is also a robot, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I'm going to say is Millie Bobby Brown has become too old to play a teenager. Because I'm watching this going, is she supposed to be 16 or 17? Because this is a 22-year-old woman.
Yeah, it's confusing in the beginning of the movie how old she's supposed to be, because it's at least a couple years later when we get to like present day and she's still in high school. And I'm like, wait, how old was she at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah. And I also think the actor who plays her brother, they don't look remotely alike. So that was some interesting casting too, but whatever. So how do you even describe the plot of this? It's robots.
There's a robot war.
Yeah, yep. Robots are sentient. I think they're sentient the whole time, like from the day that Walt Disney invented them. Interesting story choice.
Yeah, interesting revisionist history.
Right, it takes place in the 90s too, so it's like ultimate revisionist history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at some point the robots rebel and they don't want to do the menial jobs they've been assigned to do. And then the robot revolution is led by Mr. Peanut, which in and of itself is not a bad idea. But he's played by Woody Harrelson, which I would say isn't a good idea.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
Yeah. This whole fucking movie is just so, I mean, good Lord. Well, we can get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, should I tell you what I think? You know what? You guys can go first. I mean, so the robots, I couldn't even understand how the war ended, because it all ends in like voiceover as like, is it a news clip? I can't remember.
It ends with a treaty.
Right, it ends with a treaty. I mean, is it explained in like a news clip or a voiceover or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, so you have Stanley Tucci, he's head of this company, this like technology company that created this drone technology. It's like a weird like VR headset thing that allows people to operate, drones. And so they can basically just use robots that they control to fight the robots. And so that's how they're able to win the war.
Right.
They literally say they had to fight fire with fire, I think is a line of dialogue in the movie describing how this happened. So like his company now has this, VR headset that everyone is wearing and obsessed with. Very Matrix, Ready Player One, every other movie.
Severance.
Yeah, every other. Yeah, that's right. Because it's Severance, because the people's brains can like split inside the thing. Like they can be, in different places doing different things or whatever with the technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of things that you've
It's
seen
derivative.
before done.
Yeah.
Yes, done much better elsewhere.
Yeah, it's also like Matrix, not just with the like VR and like with your body being one place and your mind being elsewhere, but also watching the summation, the like 5-minute or less summation of the robot war. It's also like some of the stories in the Animatrix, which chronicle the robot war in or robotics war in the Matrix. Like it feels very similar, like how robots were like abused. And anyway.
Yeah.
So it's even more derivative than that. Like it's
Right.
doubly derivative,
So
triply,
many
quadruply.
things. I feel like there's parts of WALL-E mixed in here. There's just like so much going on.
Terminator 2.
Yep.
It's like Finch, the Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, right. Well, let me just finish laying out the fucking story.
Oh,
for this
sorry.
thing.
Yes. Sorry.
So anyway, at some point between the prologue and the present day, Millie Bobby Brown's family is killed in a car accident, her parents and her brother, and she is orphaned, and she's with a foster father. Later we learn played by Jason Alexander.
Yep.
I had
Weird
no idea
casting.
that was coming, but she doesn't wear the headset, and now Stanley Tucci controls everything. Think of him as a malevolent Steve Jobs, which maybe he was malevolent in your mind, or an American Elon Musk. Notice I don't remove the malevolent from that. So
nor should you.
Yeah. So this robot shows up in her foster dad's house that is this character from a TV show. It was a robot in a TV show, but he's actually a robot, and it was a thing that her brother wore all the time. And he's like, I'm your brother, and my speech is all screwed up, so put my wire back together, which she figures out instantly. And then he can only speak in catchphrases, and it turns out he didn't die. A scientist played by
Ki
Kwan, yeah, works for Stanley Tucci. They needed the kid. The kid is a genius. I forgot to mention that. He's smarter than Einstein, because of course he is. And they needed his brain to like do the whole thing with the drones and all this stuff. And so she's on a quest to go take the robot to her brother to put his consciousness back in his body from the robot so she can have her brother back. And on the way, she meets Chris Pratt doing a role that is 50% regular Chris Pratt and 50% I don't know what the fuck. And this movie is supposed to be funny. I realized I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, these fucking people think this is funny. This is not funny, even accidentally. There's one thing that made me smile. I did write it down, so I'll tell you what it is later. But everybody, what do we think of The Electric State?
Oh, it's terrible.
Yep.
It's terribly written. It's terribly acted. It's a waste of the good actors that are Millie Bobby Brown and Ki Hui Kwan. I don't think Chris Pratt is a good actor, so I'm not lumping him into the good actors.
No.
Stanley Tucci in the worst Stanley Tucci performance I think I've ever seen.
So awful.
And I love Stanley Tucci. He's great in everything. And I'm like, what is happening here? This is just bad.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie might be the only one who makes it out unscathed because his voice is basically unrecognizable.
Right.
Who did he play? Wait a minute.
He plays
was
the robot.
voice of the robot, the wisecracking robot.
Yeah, the one who was friends with Chris Pratt. That was Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
That was actually a decent performance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
And Alan Tudyk played
the
Cosmo robot.
Because
of course
Alan
Tudyk did.
Yeah, of course, which is very cute. And I will say, because this is based on a graphic novel, the art design, I think is great. Like, I love how the colors actually pop, because we have lamented many times, about colors looking muddy and lacking contrast and lighting. And I will say, I think the art design is good. I like the look of the robots. I think it's cute. Like, they're cute. And it's, I'm kind of here for the, robots' rights, which also kind of reminds me of the treatment of robots also in Stephen Spielberg's movie AI. That would be a very different movie if it was Stephen King, obviously.
I was going to say, he did make a movie about machines rebelling.
That's
very
true.
different movie.
Very different movie. Very, very. Yes. So I kind of I'm like, okay, that could be a good idea. But yeah, no, this is terribly written. What a waste of a $320 million budget. Like,
that can't be true.
Good
That
God.
can't be true.
I've seen that reported places,
Yeah.
300 million plus budget. And I was like, what the fuck did you spend this on?
Right. I mean, supposedly part of it was the animation with the humans. Because one of them, I don't know who, I don't know if it was one of the Russo brothers or somebody in the VFX team or something, but somebody said this is unprecedented, the way we have the animation interacting with the humans. And I'm like, okay, but
I mean, it does look, in that sense,
good.
it looks
good. It does. But here's the thing, but like, it also kind of like the look of it, the retrofuturism, which is very much in the graphic novel, also very much can't not think of Fallout. In the way that is revisionist history, the video games, and then the TV show. And yeah, the problem is the writing. The writing and the acting are just mostly just terrible.
This is one of the worst screenplays I've seen on screen ever. This is so fucking bad. I mean, you've got one scene where Living Key is like, we don't know how to, like, I can't get you to the place where your brother is because the blee, blee, blee. And then he gets shot and killed by Stanley Tucci, because of course he does. And then his robot proxy, who has his entire mind downloaded, is, hey, I know how to get to him, and I know where he is, and I know the codes for the doors. It's like, did you fucking people read the script that you shot? What the fuck is this? What the fuck are the music choices in this movie? What is this score? What is
the needle drops?
What is Danzig doing in here? Danzig. What is a symphonic version of Wonderwall doing in here? Like,
I did kind of like that though. Not in the choice in the movie. Not the choice in the movie.
No, it wasn't. Hey, if you can listen to an Oasis melody and not have to listen to fucking Oasis, you've won.
I agree.
Fucking hate that band. I mean, I don't deny that Noel Gallagher wrote some great melodies, but you have to listen to his brother sing them. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I want to listen to this, but not watching this movie.
And how are the shipping boxes just like the same place where Millie Bobby Brown's foster father is smuggling stuff from? How are all the empty shipping boxes just right there? And why is there a fucking return address on it? Are you kidding me? You're smuggling. What the fuck is this? How dumb is this shit? Oh my God. I don't usually take extensive notes, but I stopped taking notes because I was writing down all the things that didn't make sense.
And that were making you so enraged.
It was just ridiculous. I mean, Ride of the Valkyries is in there for laughs. Does everybody forget why that was famous in the first place? I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't even know how you can criticize this, because everything about it, except apparently for Anthony Mackie, is completely fucking wrongheaded. Everything.
Right. It's bad top to bottom, front to back. It's just not. It's so bad on just about every single level.
And I remember, you guys remember that weird movie we watched, The Visitor, and I wrote on Letterboxd, this movie can visit my butt.
I almost spoiled it. Sorry,
and
Dave.
People love that. It's like one of the comments that I have that actually has gotten a lot of likes or whatever. And somebody else wrote something really, really good and gave it a 0.5 star like I did. And it was like, I've never seen a movie fail so confidently. And I kind of feel that way about this. I mean, this movie is terrible. And these guys are acting like it's fucking poetry, and not like the kind you write when you're in 7th grade. I mean, it is like the kind you write when you're in 7th grade. It's not Auden or something like that, you know? This is staggering. This is $320 million. Think about what you could do with that. Just, you're say you got a screenplay and you're in pre-production and you're working for Netflix and you have a contract and you're just like, you know what? I've read the screenplay and done the rewrites and I did my draft. You know, the Russo brothers, I'm sure, also wrote an uncredited draft at some point. And you look at it and you go, this is so awful. Why don't we've already spent like $14 million or $40 million. Why don't we just take the rest of it? We'll steal it and we'll just go like give everybody in poverty in the United States $1 million. That would be a much better use.
Yes.
Maybe this is why Netflix's rates went up again. I mean, I don't know. But this is shocking. It is shocking. You know, normally I get mad at this stuff, which I kind of did a moment ago, but I'm also just sort of bemused. I don't even understand anything in this. I don't understand any of the choices. I don't understand the casting. I don't think of Woody Harrelson as the voice of authority, as a leader. I think of him as I didn't buy him as Lyndon Johnson either. You know, I mean, it's like
maybe that's the point, that he doesn't have an authoritative voice.
Yeah, he's a peanut man.
Yeah.
Like how we're following this guy in a battle.
I can't imagine that anybody thought that way on this.
No,
on this movie.
They're just like, it's Woody Harrelson. People recognize his voice.
Yes.
And he'll be a Southern fried peanut man. And that will be...
that's the problem. I mean, at least you have Alan Tudyk, who is, you know, who does a lot of voice acting. But that is the problem with so many movies, animated and live action, that cast recognizable actors. They're not looking for the best performance, because if they were, they'd be hiring voice actors. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. This movie, too, just feels like Netflix just cashed in on everybody they've got contracts with.
Yes.
Okay, Millie Bobby Brown, check.
Oh, totally.
All right, Stanley Tucci, we've worked with him, check. Okay, who else have we got? Ooh, Coleman Domingo, let's throw him in here. Oh, yep, check. Oh, let's throw in Juan Carlo Esposito. I don't know if he's been in Netflix stuff, but let's throw him in because he's going to be a villain, and he's going to be the kind of villain who's like hired gun who gets mad when people lie to him.
Well, he's in the Marvel movies, so that could be the connection there, because they
the Russos,
they pulled in Marvel people too. So
that was the one thing that made me smile: the Butcher of Schenectady.
Yeah, that was actually funny. Yeah,
I was like, yeah, Schenectady, well done. It's kind of like I don't remember which. What's the one with Steve Carell where he's the bad guy? It's a cartoon, Despicable Me.
Oh yeah.
One of them, when with the evil people in the movie are gonna bomb everything, they've got the bombs lined up. One's like Tokyo, Paris, New York, and then one says Hoboken. Like, I don't know why that's there, but it's amazing. It's just a great gag. And I feel like this one gag that's funny that they spend no time on is the best thing in this movie. Not even a sentence.
I thought the most interesting thing was, getting back to what you were saying, Megan, about the art direction, was the robots themselves.
Yes.
I thought all of the robot designs were really interesting to me.
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
liked the whole mall, even though I didn't quite understand why robots were doing everything that humans do and not what robots would do. Actually, that's what Shauna was saying, but I agree with it. But then they pissed all over that because they just blew it all up. And it was like the one interesting thing the movie had going for it was these cool, unique robots and hanging out with them. And then they just bombed the shit out of it. And we didn't get to see, we saw some of them because they took up arms at the fight at the end where they're like attacking the headquarters of Center or whatever it's called. It's a stupid fucking name for a company.
Yeah, I always, when I think about movies like this that all end in the same way with a giant battle, that is just like a lot of things being thrown at each other. Terrible example of it, of course, is Man of Steel? Is that what's called with Henry Cavill, the first one? It's just them throwing each other through buildings. But I always think of you get World War Z, right? Not a great movie. But you've got the whole, the first 2/3 of that movie are fucking chaos and zombies and trying to stay hidden. And then you have the ending, which is we've got to move as quietly and as silently as possible. And it's such a good twist on the whole, we're going to have the big, huge blah, 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 blah thing. And all of these movies meaning big action, maybe they're comedies, They have lots of special effects. They're kind of sci-fi-ish or sci-fi adjacent. They all end with these battles. And it's like, can we just figure out something else to do? You got to sneak into the mainframe like you're fucking Tron. I don't know.
I agree with you.
Mhm.
I do wonder, though, if it has become such a formulaic part of the genre that much in the way like neo-noir, people are looking for the femme fatale, they're looking for the shadowy light, or in a rom-com, they're looking for the meet cute. They're looking for those beats. I do wonder if on a conscious or subconscious level, people are looking for those,
Mm-hmm.
but probably not. But it's probably just too
It could be.
repetitive.
Yeah. I mean, but they also, you have people like the Russos who made like billion-dollar Marvel movies, and I'm sure that they have a formula probably that they were thinking this movie should
Right.
follow to just. I don't know how you turn a movie on Netflix into dollar signs after spending $300 million plus on it. No, like it's not getting a theatrical release, right? So like they're
No,
not
it's not.
making any money off of it. It's very confusing what they were thinking. But I think I'm on the same page as you, Megan, about there probably is some type of formula or plan that they're following with these things. It's a terrible plan, Dave, to your point. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's just the same old thing. And this movie is a lot of that. It's all the same old shit you've seen someone else do way better, and it's at least an hour too long.
Well, and Megan, you were talking about how bad the writing is, and I completely agree. But I kind of wonder, it's like, the ideas in this are cribbed from so many different better examples of dystopian futures and sci-fi in general, et cetera. It's like there are so many. I mean, Evan, you listed like, and you both look, well, it's got some Severance and it's got The Matrix and it's got, whatever else it's got. Like how do you write this? And you're like, yeah, we're going to put this movie out a year after, I mean, even that movie with Bruce Willis from like 20 years ago. What is that called? Surrogates.
Yep.
That's there too. I mean, fuck a duck.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue it's also cribbed from Star Wars. I mean, with the droids, like, Star Wars has kind of cornered the market on really adorable droids and, humans teaming up with them. So
it was nice to hear Kurt Loder's voice, even if I mean, it may have been a deep fake. I don't know, but
I hope not.
Kurt Loder's like 80 years old. So I can't imagine he still sounds exactly the same as he did 35 years ago, but who knows?
Yeah.
No,
anyway, it was nice to hear Kurt Loder. I agree with you.
It was. I was actually I'm like, hey, Kurt Loder.
I know. I'm like, whoa, this really is 90s-esque.
Does anybody have more thoughts before we move on? I mean, this movie's just so bad. I don't even know.
Yeah, I had a couple actually. One was Millie Bobby Brown. So I think this is not a good performance of hers, but I think I've realized that as an actor, she's good in action type roles where she doesn't have to talk as much and can be more physical. And in this, there's a lot more talking. And I feel like that is to her detriment as a performer. I think she's better like doer than she is a sayer, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't think dialogue based things seem to be her strength, at least thus far in her career. So,
except for Enola Holmes, she's adorable in that.
Yeah, she is.
It's a very dialogue heavy film.
It is, but it's also very action driven, I feel like.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's that. And then also I wanted to mention that, we were talking about all the weird storytelling choices. And so like thinking about one of those. So the fact that they were in the car accident and then the brother, they just happened upon the brother, right? And they're like, oh, okay, they did an MRI on him and figured out he was a genius from an MRI. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's not how MRIs work.
But it's just a weird, we just stumbled onto this genius kid and then just like kidnapped him and stole him and plugged him into our like network. And when we were watching, Shauna was like, she had a Dr. Chris moment where she was like, I feel like this movie would be like better if in the beginning when he was like at college and like talking about all these like crazy things that he wanted to do, if like somehow this company got wise to that and they're like, aha, let's like fake a car accident and like kidnap this kid, or let's find some way to like get this kid because he's brilliant and we want to like steal his intelligence.
I just
Like that would have
realized-
made it so much more interesting.
You're so right. And I just realized that is in part the plot of Big Hero 6, which also involves a robot anyway. Like it's just, oh
Yeah.
my God. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Wow.
I will say, I do want to read because I read that this deviates so wildly from the source material.
Yeah, me too.
I would like to read Simon Stalenhag's graphic novel. So yay for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Evan, was that your final
Yeah, no,
thought?
that was the final thought. Let's
Okay.
move on.
Those are good thoughts, though.
Yeah, no, they were. But the less time thinking about this movie. Imagine if this movie came out in 1980. Heaven's Gate may have had a whole different life. Anyway, moving on to our second movie of the night, Novocaine. Yes, the stuff the dentist shoots in you. So here's your... This is directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. Stars Jack Quaid, Amber Midthunder, and Ray Nicholson. And here's your one-sentence IMDb summary. When the girl of his dreams is kidnapped, a man incapable of feeling physical pain turns his rare condition into an unexpected advantage in the fight to rescue her. That is accurate. Now, did anybody Google whether this condition is real?
I did not.
I didn't because I thought it already was. Not to
Oh,
the extent of what
right.
he's doing, but yeah.
I mean, it sounds plausible. And I remember thinking,
Yeah.
I should Google this.
I
I
think
just
that
looked and it
real.
is. It is
is.
real. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you
So-
were going to tell me it wasn't real somehow. And I was like, I thought it was real.
No, yeah. I was, yeah.
When you
No,
asked me
you're
if I
right.
Googled it, I was like, no, I didn't Google it, but I thought it was real.
Right. Me too. Yeah. That's why I didn't Google it, but I was like pretty sure. But I guess that's why we should always double check things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
by
they-
we, I mean me.
They do a good job of like setting it up. You know, Jack
Yes.
Quaid explains that he only drinks, you know, you see him at the beginning of the movie, the very beginning, making a smoothie and just gulping the smoothie down. And you find out later, well, because he can't feel any pain, he wouldn't know if he bit his tongue and, you know, whether he bit his tongue off. And so that's just a good explainer. And he's explaining this to a woman who works as a teller in his bank. And she's been there about, 6 months or something like that, which is a long lead time. I mean, well done on the whole slow burn criminal thing that happens later. So they go out for lunch and then they have a great night together. They go to this gallery show where she says she's got some paintings up. I wonder if those are actually her paintings now that, you know, but anyway.
Yeah.
And they bump into a guy he went to high school with who's like, oh my God, I was sitting over there having some drinks with my friends. I'm like, is that Novocaine? And they call him Novocaine because, you know, haha, he's numb to pain. And then Jack Quaid's like, his watch goes off and he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom because if I don't set the alarm to remind me to go to the bathroom, my bladder might explode. And I was just like, God, what a horrible way to live. And so he goes to the bathroom. And when he comes out, you know, the bank teller is like making all cute with the guy from high school who was just like 2 minutes ago treating him like shit. And you can see that Jack Quaid is like, what the fuck? But he is not the kind of guy who's just going to go and like throw elbows. So he goes over there and she's like, hey, I thought, you know, bygones be, I don't know what the fuck she says. Her name's Sherry. She's like, let's just, you know, you guys do a shot together and everything will be great. And you can put everything behind you. And so Jack Quaid's like, all right, fuck. And he does the shot and no big deal for him. And then the guy does the shot and it turns out she's had the bartender like fill it with like kind of hot sauce that would make the people on that show where the celebrities eat all the wings.
Hot
Like-
ones.
Hot ones. Yeah. It makes it like some good revenge. So they go home. They have a nice night together. The next day he's at the bank. This is right before Christmas, I should add. And she's working as a teller. He's an assistant manager. 3 Santa Clauses come in and knock over the bank and they kill the manager because the manager's stupid. I mean, just give him the fucking code to the safe. You worked in a bank.
I sure did. And that would get you so fucking fired because that is putting people's lives at risk. You do whatever the armed robbers want. You just give them the money, open the safe, whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's all insured anyway, so it
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I feel like that's not a great screenplay choice, because you could have just gotten rid of the manager by saying like he's taken a couple of days off to spend with his family, and then you don't have to kill him. But then, of course, it doesn't make the villains as nasty as they turn out to be.
Right.
The three Santa Clauses come in there, they kill him, they're gonna kill Sherry, and Jack Quaid's like, no, here's the code, and he gives him the code, and then they knock him out. And there are a couple of times when one of the guys punches him and he has no reaction to it. And I gotta say, even if you have say you can't feel pain, fine, I buy that. It's a real thing. But if you get punched in the gut, you might not be able to breathe. There is that.
That's a good point.
That never comes up.
But if he can't feel the pain, would he have trouble breathing? Or would he not even realize that he was having trouble breathing?
So what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd still have trouble breathing, but you might not feel like discomfort from it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who can say? Anyway, the bank robbers get the money. They kidnap Sherry. They do a shootout with the cops, and they shoot a lot of cops.
Yeah, they came to assassinate the police in this movie. I was surprised how hard that was. Like, they've got automatic weapons, and they are not afraid to just empty clips into these cops. I was surprised how brutal these guys were right off the bat.
Yeah, and so they get away, but they have to split up because Jack Quaid steals a cop car, and I love the cop who's like,
"Don't do it."
He's Jack Quaid's. He's like, I got to take your car, and the cop's like, "Don't do it, don't do it." And Jack Quaid follows them, and I can't remember. Oh, he's following one guy. He follows the wrong car because Sherry's in one car with two guys, and then there's another guy alone. Like I said, it's three bank robbers. And Jack Quaid just happens to follow the wrong one and follows him into a restaurant kitchen. And this is where you learn the full extent of how Jack Quaid can't feel pain at all. I mean, he puts his hand in a grease.
A deep fryer.
Like the deep fryer. Yes, the deep fryer. He gets hit in the head with like I don't know. He just gets hit with everything. In fact, he picks up like a hot cast iron pan, the kind you would see somebody holding it with either a couple of towels or with an oven mitt. Mm-hmm. And he goes to swing and hit the robber in the head, and the robber blocks it. He grabs it, but then he gets the shit burned out of him. And by the way, Jack Quaid gets the shit burned out of him too. He just can't feel it
from the deep fryer.
For the deep fryer. Well, and from the cast iron pan.
Yes,
that's true.
And so this is just basically what the movie is him trying to find Sherry. Ned from Spider-Man shows up first on the phone as his like partner when they're gaming, and I was hearing them like, is that Ned from Spider-Man? Because I can't ever remember the guy's name.
He has such a distinctive voice.
He really does. And Jack Quaid has the idea. He's like, oh, I'll go over. He finds the bank robbers where he lives somehow. Oh, from the tattoo artist that he fucking kills.
I mean, he didn't kill him, but he gouged his eyes out pretty badly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a Nazi motherfucker, so fuck him anyway.
Yeah, but he gets the address, goes over to the one guy's house, and finds out that it's booby trapped, like
Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a sea mine that drops from the ceiling. I don't even remember all the things.
Crossbow in the cabinet because he gets the arrow through his leg.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's like, a crossbow under the sink. Oh,
yeah. And he can't pull the arrow out too. It's just stuck in his leg. So he's like walking around trying to hobble through and not get the arrow caught on things.
And there is an interesting kill. He later gets the guy who lives in that house, gets in between his knees, and then shoves the arrow through the rest of his leg into the guy's brain and out through his other leg. And then Jacob Batalon's like, whoa, what a way to go, or something like that, because it looks very strange. And then you find out, of course, that Sherry was in on it the whole time because her brother is the lead bank robber. Mm-hmm. Boo! They
dropped that pretty early in the movie, too.
They do, yeah. Which I think that is a good choice, because how are you going to keep that a secret, if you're going back to the hideout? And it's like, well, she's not tied up and,
exactly.
blindfolded or whatever. And but as it turns out, she actually has real feelings for Jack Quaid. She actually was like, "Oh man, he's fucking awesome." And so when the cops, played by what's her name, Betty Gabriel, and Matt Walsh, which is
like
hilarious.
Like a sore thumb in this movie.
I know. I still think I thought he was fine for what he was, tasked to do. Anyway, it all works out that they end up, they find the hideout. The cops find the hideout. Sherry's brother almost crushes Jack Quaid's head under like the wheel of a 70s muscle car. I mean, it's like, I mean, I know he wasn't going to do it because he's the hero of the movie, but I was just like, this is The Fly 2 all over. But no, we missed that. But then, Matt Walsh comes in, he shoots the brother, and then, he's not really dead, which I have to say, speaking of plot holes, you wouldn't go over and, like, have you ever watched, like, the 8 million videos there are of police killing unarmed people? The first thing they do is cuff the dead body. I mean, it's gross, but that's what happens. So the idea that Matt Walsh and Betty Gabriel wouldn't walk over and make sure that guy's dead, I think Matt Walsh is just like, yeah, he's cooked or something like that.
And then gets shot in the neck.
Gets shot in the neck and killed. And Betty Gabriel gets shot in the hip, like right where her vest stops. Kind of a bummer. Also a bummer to get shot in the neck because your vest doesn't cover that.
Yeah.
And so they take off. There's a chase, ambulance versus whatever. And then Sherry helps out Jack Quaid and they kill her brother. And the way they do it is, the brother gives Jack Quaid a compound fracture of the wrist. I don't know how he doesn't bleed out from that, by the way, because I'm assuming the artery must be severed, but I guess not. And he takes the jagged bone and jams it through the guy's throat. And that's how he kills him. What a way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's pretty fucked up. He has to take a shot of epinephrine to get up off the ground to even get to that point. He does epinephrine twice in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think even later at the very end when they're like, he's like in traction, he's in like the body cast. I think he even says like, yeah, I had a heart attack.
That's right. They do say that. But he survives and he's in, the only thing not bandaged is his head and his hand that he had burned, and it looks really weird. And he turned out it's a skin graft. I'm like, oh, that is kind of what a skin graft looks like after they do it. Well done, movie. And the whole like I don't have to go to prison, but I have to be on probation for 5 years, I thought was a little strange. And also that Sherry only got 8 months, a little strange. I mean,
no, a year and 8 months.
A year and 8 months.
A year had passed, and she had 8 months to go.
Right. Okay, you're right. And then she had to be on house arrest after that, I think they said. But seems like she got off kind of light. I mean, she did help the police. She did, tell Jacob Batalon to take Betty Gabriel to the hospital, which he did. So he didn't have to do any time, I guess. What do we think of Novocaine? Arguing about the minutiae is probably not the best thing to do. So, Megan, what did you think?
I thought this was a lot of fun.
Yay.
Yeah, I really liked this. I like Jack Quaid as an actor. It's very interesting because I had just watched, I just had seen him in Companion, which is a very different role, very, very different character. And so to see him play a really nice person here was kind of lovely. And I think he is a great lead. He's a great action star. I think he's got a lot of charisma. I think he's got a charm, like a really like friendly charm, not like a magnetic, like, ooh, I'm oozing sex appeal charm, but like, just like, he just seems like such a nice guy in this. I just want to hang around him and play video games with him. And like, it just seems cool. He
definitely toes the line of like dorky and charming at the same time.
Yes. Well, that's my people.
Yeah. He nails that, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
I loved him in Star Trek Lower Depths where he plays a very dorky character.
Yeah.
So like, but I think he's found some sweet spot, at least in this role between being a nerd, like a shy nerd, but also quite charming.
Yeah, he's so great. And I always love Amber Midthunder. She's great in Prey. She's great in all of the supporting roles in films that I've seen her in. I think she's great here. I really liked their romance. Like, it felt very tender, very sweet. It felt like it was evolving in a realistic, authentic way. I love how she invites him to her art show, and then he reveals his tattoos and that he did them himself. So he's artistic as well. And I just really love that. I love how they connected over a lot of things. And so I like that. And I really love the creative violence and action scenes and kills in this. It's great. Some of them are like where he's punching into the glasses. Like, that's not an original idea. But it's done so creatively, and along with all of the other kills, like with the wrist bone and, shoving the arrow in, to kill the other guy, like you said, Dave.
That was super. I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. I don't know where you would see it, but yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of creative, weird kills in slasher movies. So,
that's true.
Yeah, which is funny because that's what I felt like it was weirdly evoking, even though this is not a slasher in any way, shape, or form. But the way it's doing these creative kills, and also the way that her brother comes back from being dead or assumed dead. That always happens, in the last 10 minutes of a slasher horror. So it kind of feels like that, even though it's also very much an action, very much a rom-com. He's rescuing the damsel in distress who's not a damsel in distress. And I kind of think that it's cute and sweet that he gets the tattoo where they're rescuing each other. That's so adorable. And the only other thing I have to say about this is I saw this in a 4DX screening, which was my first experience with 4DX. And it will be my last experience with 4DX because it was fucking awful. I thought I was getting flung out of the seat. It was a wild ride. When he gets punched, you get punched in the back. No, thank you.
Oh, God.
So for listeners who don't know this, what are some of the features of the 4DX screening?
Okay. Yes, thank you for asking that, Evan. So you step up into a chair that kind of looks like you're going into a dentist chair, and the seats move. They move all around, up, down, all around, you're on a ride. It's really weird.
Do you have a seatbelt? I mean, Jesus.
There's no seatbelt. No, there's no lap bar, no seatbelt or anything. You're getting like I said, when he gets punched, you get punched. So you feel a push in your back in different various spots. There is water that sprays on you, but you can turn that off, which I did. There are strobe lights. So when the guns go off, you have air blowing in your at your head, and the strobe lights are going. When there are smoke bombs, there's smoke in the front of the theater. There's fans blowing. So when the car's driving, you feel you're moving and the fans are blowing on you. Yeah, it is bonkers. And my roommate, who was my guest, when we went together to the screening, said to me, if this is the future of cinema, I want no part of it. And I'm I could not agree more. And this movie is so lovely and just fun and likable that I'm I didn't need all the bells and whistles that were very uncomfortable. So I had to share because there are 4DX screenings out there, and I do not recommend them. However, I will say, somebody as I was leaving the screening was that was the greatest usage of 4DX I've ever seen. So
someone liked it.
Someone liked it. Your mileage may vary. But my ass was so sore by the end of the movie.
Yeah, you got the whiplash.
Yes.
Free whiplash.
Yes, and the guy in front of me had to put his water on the stairs so they wouldn't get tossed up in the air. It was crazy.
Sounds like my nightmare. I don't know.
It was terrible. But thank God the movie was great.
That's good. That's so good.
What do they do during a werewolf movie? Do they have a little set of fake teeth come out and gnaw on your ankle? I mean,
dude, I don't know, but I'm it was a no for me. No, thank you. I don't need all that. And I like amusement parks, so whatever.
I do too. Yeah.
But not that.
Yeah, it sounds like the things you don't like in an amusement park, right?
Yeah.
Including the whiplash.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Evan, what did you think? You seemed excited that I liked it. So
Oh, I'm thrilled because I loved this movie.
Oh,
I think this was
yay!
exactly my kind. I think when I left, the publicist asked me what I thought of it, and I said, "Oh, I loved this. This is exactly my kind of movie because it is. I love an action comedy, and this movie is funny." And I thought it was well paced. I liked Jack Quaid in it. I thought he was very charming and funny and well suited to the role. I also thought Amber Midthunder was great. I was a little bit worried in the beginning, like, oh, she's going to be kidnapped, so maybe she's not going to be in this movie very much. And I was really glad that she was, and that was a fun twist that she was in on it. And so I dug all of that. I liked the different set pieces in this movie, like the different showdowns, the kitchen. Loved the tattoo parlor with the giant fucking Nazi guy who he blinds by punching, like you said, he punches all this broken glass after he gets thrown into a mirror and gets it stuck in his hands, and then punches the guy in the face and gouges his eyes out or something. Also tattoos on his swastika on his neck. He takes the tattoo gun out and goes over that.
That's right.
Yeah. That's great. The house, like you mentioned, Dave, the whole thing. Also, where he's trapped in the snare, he's like upside down. He's like waiting for his buddy to get there, and he sets that 10-minute timer and then the brother of the dead guy finds him, and that I think was probably the hardest part of the movie to watch was the part where he was biding his time, so he was letting the guy was like torturing him, and he had to pretend that like it was terrible, even though he felt none of it when the guy was pulling his fingernails off.
Oh, I didn't watch the fingernails, man.
So gross.
They show you the fingernails getting pulled. That I think is probably the single hardest thing in the movie for me to watch, because it's like know that he doesn't feel anything, but he's having to pretend, but he's also like having this egregious bodily harm done to him.
Yeah, that was. I turned away once I realized, because he's got the pliers, and then Jack Quaid says, "Not the pliers," and I was like, "Oh, is he going to do the nipple? I can handle that." No, he went for the fingernails.
I can handle the nipple.
Yeah. And him just going, "Oh God, you're so terrible. You're the worst guy ever. This hurts me so much." Like that, I thought was just so well done and so funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Movie. So yeah, I was totally on board with this. It's so much fun. Very funny, very well paced. Exactly my kind of action comedy kind of movie with a fun conceit, I think. It felt a little bit in some ways kind of channeling like the Crank movies with the epinephrine and the kind of having to, keep moving and keep, go from one setting to the next, which is not bad, I think. And crap, I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say after that. Oh, I think my one gripe is that some of the editing in the action scenes is it makes it a little difficult to tell what's going on. I think that's my one complaint about the movie, is that some of the action scenes are not edited in a way that makes it easy, particularly the kitchen scene to me. Although I know it's supposed to be very chaotic, there was parts where I was like, what's going on? Who hit what? Where's that? Okay.
You know what I always think of when I think of chaotic action that's done where you can see everything that's going on is the very end of Saving Private Ryan, when Tom Sizemore and the German are like shooting at each other and they run out of ammo. So then they throw their guns and then they throw their helmets. That's what I always think of. It's like, I can see everything. I know exactly. Now that takes place in daylight, but I guess technically the kitchen scene does too, right? So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you two both love this, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a feeling that you're not a fan.
Yeah,
of this.
I had a hunch you wouldn't like this.
No, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Oh, good.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yay!
I was totally on board, and I think the reason I was totally on board is because I like Jack Quaid, even though he does a lot of the same stuff. I haven't seen The Companion, so I don't know what that performance is like. You said it's a very different performance, right, Megan?
Yes. I was trying not to spoil it even though this is spoiler piece, but it is a very different performance.
The movies I know him in is, the rom-com Plus One with Maya Erskine.
And he's great in that.
He's so great in that.
That's such a good movie.
And then The Boys, he's a very, I don't want to say nebbish, that's not quite right, but he's he's not an action guy. And I guess technically he's not an action guy in this, but he's so likable.
Yes.
It's like he's Now, there's not a lot of good in Dennis Quaid, but it's like you got the best parts of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's like charm and timing.
Yes.
Mhm.
And he looks like his dad, but you can also see her a little bit too.
Yes.
I finally noticed it.
Me too. There's a couple scenes that I'm like, that's a Meg Ryan expression. Yes.
Totally. Because I've always just thought like, wow, if there's ever a kid who looked exactly like one parent, you know, but then, you know, I saw a couple of moments there where it's like, he's definitely channeling his mother, you know?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I just thought this was a hoot. I think, like I said, it's because he was so good right from the beginning. They do a really good job of setting things up so that you've already seen a whole bunch of, well, you know, the conceit of the movie, if you know, it's called fucking Novocaine, for Christ's sake.
Right.
But they do a good job of like setting things up without, it's a very good show. Like when he turns on his shower and he's got that like little limiter in it. Yeah. And like, okay, the smoothie, I don't know why you're drinking a smoothie, but okay. And so you do explain it later. But it's also a good conceit that you would have to explain it to your love interest. And I also like how in that scene before he tells her, he's like, oh, well, I've got this genetic condition. And he's just ready for her to like bolt. And she's like, yeah, okay, go on. And he's like, oh, I have this thing. And it's like, oh, no one's ever sat there and listened to you. They hear genetic condition and they're like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting how he described his parents thinking that, you know, basically hiding him in their house because they thought he was going to die at any minute, which is very sad.
I know.
I hope he has some kind of relationship with him. They were just looking out for him. And so
it sounded like that crossed into overbearing territory, though. Like the fact that he was eating smoothies all the time seemed like it wasn't a medical necessity, more so that maybe it was something his parents ingrained into him. Because it's like, oh, he actually can eat food. Like when he's eating pie later in the movie, it's like, oh, I actually can eat food. Yeah, maybe it's a little more dangerous than the average person, but I don't have to just drink smoothies my entire life.
Yeah. I did like how when he had pie on his own that he's like, oh, pie, oh, great. And then he goes and he looks at his tongue in the mirror to make sure he hasn't bitten it. And I really liked the two of them together. I liked their chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had fun with this. I just went with it because I liked him so much. And then that just took me the whole way. The only thing that kind of took me out of it was hearing Jacob Batalon's voice, because it's like, why do we like put him on screen like right now? So I just know for sure it's him, but whatever, it's fine. Yes, I have no real complaints. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who just fucking hate this, but I'm not one of them. So
I've seen some good reviews, so
no, it's doing pretty well in like the reviews. I can't imagine the Washington Post giving this a good review. But
well, fuck the Washington Post.
I know, but the Washington Post is kind of fucked up anyway.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I like all the same things you two did, you know.
Yeah. Woo, woo, woo.
The only thing is, you know, I was glad that his character didn't do anything stupid at the bar when he came out of the bathroom and she was talking to his high school classmate, because I was like, don't turn this into a thing, because she's pulling some trick. You know that's what she's doing. And then it was the hot sauce. That was nice. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I noticed like the two shots come in. I'm like, she's not doing a shot. This is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So that's it. That's how I feel.
Yay.
I'm okay. And I say the bank manager, terrible idea.
Oh, yeah, that's the one bad move, but you know, you do. But speaking of the pie, I'm glad you mentioned the pie, because I don't know, while I was listening, I had an epiphany. It reminds me of a scene I absolutely love from Starman, where Jeff Bridges has pie for the first time, and it's like the greatest thing. And so whenever he goes to a restaurant, he asks for pie. He asks specifically for Dutch apple pie because he loves it. But anyway.
Yeah, that is nice.
So cute. Yeah. Cute movie. So good.
Yeah. I read a review somewhere where the critic described Jack Quaid as having unassuming cheerfulness. And I'm like, that's a great description of him.
That is a great description.
Yeah. I don't remember who wrote it, but I was like, it's like how I always describe Diane Sawyer as having creamy insincerity. So.
I now need to sit and ponder that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, for you news junkies out there of the last decade. So, any closing thoughts on Novocaine? I almost said pomade. I don't know where that came from.
Pomade?
I caught myself before I said pomade. Yeah. Maybe because I could use some right now because my
in
hair
your
is kind of
hair?
long in the front, but
Your hair
Yeah.
does look very soft,
my hair is generally very soft. Yes.
but it
A
looks very
friend-
soft right now.
It is very soft right now.
Okay.
A girl in high school described it as, "Oh, it's like corn silk," and I was like, "Will you go out with me?" And I never asked her because I was kind of chicken, but I don't even remember why she felt my hair. Now that I'm thinking about it, how did that even happen?
No.
Anyway, moving on. Sounds like we're all talked out on Novocaine. So that ends this episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. I'm going to get out my notes because I actually have them here. We would definitely recommend, all three of us, Novocaine.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think it's a real hard fucking no. I was just going to call this
Yeah.
the estate plan, the electric state.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pull the plug.
I'm not going to go... yeah. I'm not going to go worst movie of all time, but it's close. I mean, it's up there. Thank you to our editor. Oh, go ahead.
No. Please continue. I was just going to
Okay.
say, I think there are worse movies out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
Oh, there
but this one
are.
ranks among the like really bad movie.
yeah. For big budget movie, yeah.
Big budget, expense, and spectacle, and
yeah.
just...
Yeah,
oof.
maybe you're right.
So thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor, for making us sound great every week. Thank you, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. Our website is spoilerpiece.com. On social media, we're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, and we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky. And if you would like to get in touch with us, send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, and tell us why the electric state, I almost said the estate plan again. The electric state isn't the worst movie of the year, but maybe it's the fourth worst. Something, I don't know. Let us know what you think. Or you can give us a call
At 862-21-PEACE.
and tell us why it was okay for the bank manager to refuse to give the code to the safe to the bank robbers. Not that specifically. You can call us about anything. If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. You can also rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That helps us out. If you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I said at the top, we talk about the 2006 Spike Lee movie Inside Man, starring Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, and Jodie Foster. And that is it. My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky. I'm David Riedel on Blue Sky now, and the other ones I'm Dave Sees Movies. There you go.
Glad you remembered. My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the Exit Pictures podcast. You can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast, member of Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at Opinion World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.